So we're talking about that projection of ours. We have a light that is within us. It's been with us before we even incarnated in this world. And it's constantly shining. It's never not shining. We call that portion of ourselves I am. But what we are projecting through is a film reel, is some sort of film or veil or projection or projector in which the light shines through and creates what we see on the screen of space. It's it's our inward condition that the outer reality depends upon. And it's because of this that we look to the unseen in order to see what we want to see in this world. And if we can make it our chief goal in life, which is to know who I am and what concept we have of ourselves, we'll understand how easy this world actually is. So when we go through this, I want y'all to consider the adventure of your life up until now and going forward, and be interested in the possibilities of learning, doing, and accomplishing. And in this, I hope that the state that you find yourself in will be one that you are enthusiastic about to wake up to every day and let the apathy and disinterest that you might have dissipate. So, right now, you guys are in the right place, as y'all know, so nothing to trip about. So, let's talk about concepts. So, when we refer to self, we're not referring to this egoistic or egotistical self that we call John Doe. We're referring to your true self, the essence of life that gives you life, that gives your friends and neighbors life, that gives the trees life. It is the awareness. And because of this self, which is awareness, it behooves us to look out in this world and say, there's things out here that I would like to see differently. But in order for there to be something out there differently, I need to change the filter in which I am shining my awareness through. Because as Neville says, there's no one to change but self. And that self is simply your awareness, your consciousness. And the world in which it lives is determined by your concept you hold of yourself. So it is to consciousness that we must turn as to the only reality. So when we're out here and we're trying to change this world, we're trying to fix this world, we're trying to force it to get into the mold that we want of it, we're not actually changing anything. Maybe temporarily we might be, but we're not recognizing that who we are is the only reality. And when I say that, I mean it literally, that literally God is the only reality. And the way we know God is by our awareness. And by awareness, I mean the one who is hearing through your eyeballs, hearing through your ears, hearing the thoughts or seeing the visions. The one that's doing that is your true self. The one that's aware of your beliefs is your true self. The one that's aware that you are sitting or that you're looking at traffic or that you're typing code in on a computer, the one that's bored in a meeting, the one that's elated to be on the sexy date, the one that's aware of any of that is actually God incarnate as you. But currently, as you, it only knows itself by the concept that it's holding. Oh, I suck, or I'm awesome. Oh, I'm poor, or I'm wealthy. Those that's those are your concept of yourself. So if we can truly recognize the self, we'll recognize that we aren't the concepts that we hold of ourselves. Our concepts can move and change all the time. Being is the actual constant in our life. So the word became flesh, or the unseen appearing is the action and the manifestation at the same time. It's a dual nature. The Father and the Son are one. The cause and the effect are one. So the things you perceive out in the world are shining back to you who you say that you are. And because of this, in order to manifest new things or things that we want, is why we begin in the end. We don't we don't do things, we don't have things in order to be something. We are something, and thusly we do and have things. And so, in other words, we're always living in some end. We are always thinking from a certain end. Sometimes that end is not what we actually want, which is why we come to this type of work, so we can become conscious of that which we want to be, or I should say, conscious of being that which we once wanted to be. So Neville says it this way: to incarnate a new greater value of yourself, you must assume that you already are what you want to be, and then live by faith in the assumption which is not yet incarnate in the body of your life. So the outside world is showing you something. It's showing you the results or the harvest of your old imaginings, of your old um, concepts of yourself. Continuing with what Neville says, in confidence that this new value was the state of consciousness would become incarnated through your absolute fidelity to the assumption that you are that which you desire to be, almost repeating himself. So if you want to see the new results and you want it to be effortless, you want to start stepping into that idea. I'm repeating myself. We go through this all the time. We can hem and haw about, well, I used to be this way, and these were the actions I used to take, or that was the fight that I used to get in or got in, and these things keep happening, and so on and so forth. But what we need to recognize is that nothing comes unto us had the Father not called it. And by the Father, I mean consciousness. So if you became aware of something, you became aware that you were that something, whether you knew it or not, and it is now out here in this world. So, with that known, you should fall in confidence, fall in love and in confidence in the fact that what you choose to be right now is who you are right now. You don't pay attention to this outside world because it's only showing you old states. And so you persist in the assumption that you already are. So you go to the end. I already am that person. And if you can persist in that assumption, it hardens into fact. So if that's true, that it hardens into fact just by living in that end, that would tell me that any desire, oh, whatever that desire is, it could be something small, it could be something big. As soon as that desire comes, all you need to do is fulfill it and see it as fulfilled. The order has been made. You could almost look at it as God came down, gave you a desire, like you would go on Amazon and made an order. And all you need to do is say, "Thank you, Father, for you have given me that which I wanted." Because all that the Father has is yours. So you just tap into that. So tapping into your higher concepts of yourself is the uh is the challenge for us, because most of us, most people settle for what they can get. Even people who've achieved levels of success will also fall into this trap where they're like, well, I achieved my level of success. I hang out with these type of people. It's way better than the life I used to live. I made it. But they haven't actually recognized what Neville and Walter C. Lanyon and Joel Goldsmith are trying to point out. Like I said, I like the conversation I had with these folks earlier. They still operate under, they understand what we're talking about, but they still operate under the idea of strategy and and knowing how to make something happen, and thusly forcing things to happen, which only causes more struggle in their life because they don't recognize that the things that need to happen are already in the process of happening, as in they're happening right now. So to reach a higher level of being, you must assume a higher concept of yourself. To desire a state is to have it. So when you have a desire, that moment you have the desire, you're in a lack state. As soon as you accept that you are that new desire, you are in the higher concept of yourself. And your I am is not interested in your opinions about how something is going to come about. Your true self will cause these conceptions to appear in your world, and you will live with them as though they are real. And by the way, this is good, bad, or indifferent. So, what is the self concept? Well, it's what you think about yourself, it's how you feel about yourself, it's who you think you are, it's who you think others think you are, how you see the world, and how you believe the world works. So, if you might, we'll get into this, but let me just highlight what I'm saying here. The way you view the world, right, is based on this concept that you have of yourself, and it's how you move, it's how you think, it's how you react. And there are people who no, we'll get into it. If you can understand this, that what you think about yourself, like if you had sit down, it's like, what do you actually think about yourself? And how do you feel about yourself? Who you think you are, who uh, who who you think others think you are, is how you see the world and how you believe the world works. So as y'all are sitting there hearing this, I want y'all to really think about it and be honest. And if you don't know, with an uncritical observation, look out into your world, and it will tell you exactly who you think you are. And the reason for this is because the reason why you can look outside and see it is because it's showing you what you believe to be true up until now. And if you can change it, and you can change it, it is possible. I don't know about probable, but it is possible that you could change your concept of yourself right here, right now. and see a change. But because of our lack of disciplined mind, it's hard for that to happen because we have to dwell in the new concept of ourself. So in dwelling in our new concept of ourself, we're interacting with our self-concept. People are interacting with our self-concept. And when you realize that, that's the essentially saying you put on sticky note on your forehead or on your back that says kick me. Most people, I should say it this way, most people have a sticky note on their head that says kick me or on their back that says kick me, and they wonder why people keep kicking them. And they don't realize it's because they have a sticky note on their forehead that tells people to kick them. Now, if they would only take that note off, write on it, uh, hug me, people would hug them. And not only that, they would remember that they wrote on that sticky note, hug me. So essentially, I'm saying all of this to say your concept of yourself, your I am being the most fundamental thing that you can ever know is who you are, who you actually are. But the second most important thing is what filter are you putting on that essence that you are? So I wanted to highlight on this page that there actually is a difference between your self-concept, self-love, and self-worth. Self-concept is the perception. We just went through a whole perception of our presentation of that. Self-love is the way you treat yourself. It's the way you treat your I am. And self-worth is the value you have of your I am. There is no love external to yourself. There is no worth external to yourself. There is no concept except external to yourself. You are aware of these different aspects of filters that you put over yourself. So I want y'all to start noticing if you're letting your programmed states, your habitual states, to run the show, or are you consciously selecting the state of being in which you want to operate? So we want what we're working on this week. What we're working on this week is getting so clarified in our concept of ourself. And if I should really invite y'all to challenge yourself, start seeing through God's filter as opposed to our human filters. Um, to him that's pure, all things are pure. God is too pure to observe inequities. So that said, you have to remember that God is pure light that shines through your concepts of yourself. God is pure light, pure love, pure abundance that shines through your concept of yourself. And if you want to see a change out in the world, change the concept of yourself. So any given moment, you're headed to the airport, um, and you start noticing how is my concept of self reflecting back to me? And what state of consciousness would I like to um what state of consciousness would I like to put out there in the world? And can I operate from that and dwell in that state? So that's it. That's all. Peace and hair grease. I want to open the floor up to conversation and questions and see um what came up for you guys. And I know this is almost a repetition of what we talked about, but I want to be able to address anything that might have come up in this presentation.
So Jerry, and I'd say probably about 5 minutes ago, you said self-concept, self, did you say self-love and then self-worth?
Correct.
Yeah. So can you um expound on the last one again?
About self-worth.
Yeah.
Self-worth is the value you hold of yourself. So, one of my mentors would say all the time is like, this isn't about worthiness. And the reason why is because you are worthy. The very fact that you're here, not here on this call, but here in this world, should prove to you alone that you are worthy. The reason why you would believe, the reason why you would not have value in yourself, value in your own I amness, is because of your self-concept. Your self-concept is what would allow your worth to drop,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You are worthy. It's inherent, right? But our
Yeah.
self-worth is how much value do you put into I am?
Yeah. So what one of the things that's coming up for me doing this, doing this particular talk is and is business, you know,
Mm,
and it's pricing, how I set my prices. And I heard myself say something on a conference call when I was justifying, that's in quotes, when I was justifying the price. I said to the buyer, I said to them, here's the price. It's been that price for the last 8 years. It hasn't gone up, right? And I heard myself say that. Hey, I said it to just say, hey, this isn't something I just came up with.
mm,
But when I heard myself say it, I was like, why haven't you raised the price of that in the last 8 years? Why haven't you raised it? And so as I'm thinking about this particular conversation, what's coming up for me is there's some expansion needed in that self worth area. You know what I mean? And I didn't even realize it. You know what I mean? I didn't really know. I was on another call and I heard a woman talking about her prices, and they were like 3 times what I was charging. I was like, whoa, man, I've been asleep. That's not to say that her value is 3 times better. It could be, but I doubt it. And so you just got me thinking about how I price my work and what I expect the reaction to be when I put a
hmm.
price out there. You know what I mean? So
I do.
yeah,
I
so
do.
yeah, so what I'm getting from this call is I could be charging what I charge for a 3-day event, I could be charging that for one
Correct.
because I can give the same value, over one day. But it really comes back to me and what I expect. You know what I mean? How
Correct.
I see the value. That's what I'm
Mm,
getting from this so far today.
correct. Because if you want to get real with it, Armors, you are worth way more. What you're
Exactly. You can't.
offering
I
is
can't put no price on it. Exactly.
exactly, exactly. Your true essence is priceless.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you don't even need to justify your prices because your price is what it is because I
Exactly.
am that I am.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, the person on the other end can say yes or no. It doesn't
Exactly.
change. It does nothing to your worth and your value.
Which is what they are doing anyway. If I'm offering a lower price, they're still saying yes or no. If I'm offering
Correct.
a mid price, same thing. And if I'm offering what I consider to be a premium price, it's the same thing.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And what happens
Oh,
is
wow.
when we want to step into a new value, right? It's a new value, right?
Yeah,
What happens is our old state wants to trap us in that way of being and says, "Oh, I can't do that. I could never charge that. That's not the
absolutely.
going rate. That's not this. That's not that. I've been doing this for 8 years. So why would I change it now? If it ain't broke, don't fix it." And it's like, because you're expanding.
Yeah, got it.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
And it becomes easy. You're reminding me of Mike Rasmussen, one of my old clients. And he's in real estate and stuff. And when we were working together, I think I've shared this story with y'all before, but when we were first working together, he was on the verge of quitting altogether because he was like, COVID, can't sell these houses, can't sell my inventory. Um, excuse, which is fine. It was his state. And when we worked together, he was like, all right, so if I'm going to make this goal, I'm going to have to like make more calls. I'm going to have to do more things. And I said, stop. And I had to remind him, I was like, look, the way you operate to make the current amount that you make, are you working any harder than you did when you first got into this work? And he's just like, no, if anything, it's a lot easier. I was like, exactly. So what do you think that is? He's like, what? How do, are you serious? It's like, it's no harder to sell higher priced units, doors, than it is to sell lower price doors. Same energy, same stuff. Only difference is the concept of yourself.
Yep.
And when he got that, I don't even think it was a couple weeks. People started coming to him. It's just, but funny enough, it's like people were already coming to him, but they were buying at a lower price point.
Yep.
Now, he's who's who in Chicago real estate. He just opened up his own firm, all that stuff, all because of concept
Yep.
and knowing who he is. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense.
So, how do we change it? I didn't talk about it, but how do we really get into this so we can embody it as opposed to just talking and theorizing about it? So, I didn't put this in the presentation, but I want you to really think about this. Whatever it is that you want to level up. I know Armors is in that boat right now. He wants to be able to charge more and provide awesome value like he always does, but not work as hard, right? Armors,
Yep.
am I correct in naming that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what I would recommend you guys do is ask yourself these questions. I'll back up the slide. What do I currently think about myself? Well, I think that I charge the same amount that I've been charging for the last 8 years. How do I feel about myself? I feel like this is justified. I feel like it's a fair rate, so on and so forth. All right. Well, then who do you think you are? Well, I think I'm Armors. But who do you say that I am? Right? And then who do you think or you are, well, who do you think others think you are? And that's a huge question right there. Who do you think others think you are? I'm remembering a conversation I had with a gentleman on the beach a couple weeks ago. And as we were talking, he was letting me know how he lived in Waikoloa, which is like a super swanky part of the island, super swanky, high net worth type individuals live there. And he happened to live in one of these communities, and he's a black man, and as he's talking to me, he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, my neighbors are like they're all racist, and they don't want me to be there." And I'm looking at him being like, "What are you? Is that true?" Like I didn't say that to him, but I'm like, "Is that true?" It's like, you, like, and I was like, "Well, that's interesting. That doesn't happen to me. These things that you're talking about don't happen to me." And and I'm pointing this out to you guys because I'm recognizing that it's what he thinks others think about him.
Yeah.
And it took a bit of us having a conversation for me to break that shell for him, but he truly believed that. And I'm like, well, if that were really true, if that's how people actually viewed you as just another black man who's this, that, and the other, don't you think they would be behaving in a certain way? He's like, yeah. Do you think they would allow you to be there? He's like, yeah, probably not. He's like, right. It's not them. It's you who's putting yourself in that position. They might not even be behaving that way, but because of his concept of himself, that's what he saw, whether they were acting that way or not. And that's how he saw the world. And that's how that's how he believed that the world worked. And so he found difficulty where there was none. And he realized that in our conversation. It's like, oh my God, man, I'm holding these people in a prison.
Actually, he's
So
holding himself in a prison.
he's definitely holding himself in a prison, but he's holding others in a prison too. Whether they react to the prison
You
or
can't
not
you
is
can't
not the
hold
point.
yeah, you can't hold other people in the prison. We don't have control over other people.
Right. What I mean
I
by
follow
that,
what you're
holding
saying. I follow what you're
yeah,
saying though.
yeah. What I mean by holding others in a prison is because of your self-concept, it locks people in your eyes behind those bars. And so you don't interact with them or you don't talk with them, or when you do interact with them, it is in a way that would have them react to you in a certain way. And
Oh,
so,
I see. I see.
yeah, exactly. So we, because of we know who we are, have the ability of freeing others from the state of consciousness that they are in when we find them.
Say that one again. Say that one again, Jerry.
We hold we when people come to us with whatever state of consciousness that they're in, what we do, people who come into the Faithful Visionary Project learn is that they actually can free people from their state of consciousness by changing ourself.
Yeah.
And maybe perhaps somebody who does wear a white hat, right, or white mask or whatever over themselves in a robe will treat us fine. Meanwhile, our neighbor they'll treat like shit. Like it's our concept of ourself. That's what I'm trying to point out. That people are interacting with our self-concept. They're not interacting with our true essence. No one can see our true essence. What they see is our concept of ourself.
Yep.
I know you got it. What's up, Earl? What's up, Robert? Any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Armors, what is it that he actually be selling?
I sell I sell leadership development. I sell executive coaching.
I sell organizational effectiveness solutions. I sell diversity, equity, and inclusion solutions. So these are services that companies, mid-size and large companies, well, actually more, I'm going to say I sell to mid-size companies because most of the time the large companies, they already have someone on their staff that's responsible for a lot of this stuff. So I target the mid-size companies from that have about, I'd say, have about 500 to about 3,500 employees.
So how much money can the company make by using your service in a year?
So most of my services are either